Kujantam Ramarameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Vedavedye Parepumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje Vedav Prachetasa Dasit Sakshad Ramayanatmana. Namaskarams to the Astikas who have gathered for this literary festival. I am humbled and honored to the organizers who have invited me on this solemn occasion. Of course, the topic has been dealt in terms of temple, architecture, music, dance by experts in those fields. I have been asked to speak from the literature side of how Tamil Nadu especially has been at the forefront in Sri Rama and Sri Rama Bhakti. Honestly, today, a discussion such as this, be it in a forum or a conclave, or even a casual discussion, will end up with a question, Ramayanam which? Because we believe that there are too many Ramayanams. In a way, yes, it is. But Rama's story is only one. And that has been told to us by Valmiki. So, Valmiki's Ramayanam is Mukhya Pramanam. There is no doubt about that. Of course, Kamban has dealt that with all figures of speech, and Tulsidasa's Ramcharitmanas is extremely beautiful, no doubt. But when it comes to Pramanam, it is Valmiki Ramayanam alone. So when I speak about Valmiki and I speak about Valmiki Ramayanam, how does Tamil Nadu feature? Because the grandest of the commentaries called Bhushanam by Govindaraja belongs to the state of Tamil Nadu for Valmiki Ramayanam. So we have close to 6 commentaries. People do, now we have temporary Twitter and Facebook experts on Shastram. And there is of course a sarvagna.kora.com. It knows everything. So we trust in Kora and more than what Valmiki has said. But in Sanatana Dharma, which is Hinduism, I know the locality in which I am speaking may attract attention, but it warrants that Sanatana Dharma, which is Hinduism, we believe that along with the Mukhya Pramanam, the Mula Pramanam, the commentaries are equally important. Without the commentaries, it is very tough for us to even decipher certain shlokas. So we have 6 commentaries to the Ramayanam. We have Maheshwara Tirtha's commentary, we have Nagesha Bhatta, we have Trayambaka Makhin, we have Govindaraja, we have Shivasahaya. So these are all the large commentaries, 6 large commentaries that we have. One is based on Dharma, the remaining 5 are extremely grand, and of them, undoubtedly, amidst the group of scholars, Govindaraja's Bhushanam or Govindarajiyam is the best, and to that Valmiki Ramayanam and its grandest commentary, it belongs to the state of Tamil Nadu. I begin there. In Valmiki Ramayanam, in Kishkindha Kandam, there is a mention where Sugriva tells Rama, when Rama is all soaked in melancholy as to where Sita is. He says, I kind of noticed a woman crying for help and throwing away her jewelry. And then he showcases the jewelry to Rama, stating that this is what we could gather from what she threw. These were collected by our Vanara Sainyam, and here I showcase it to you. Rama, that he had been crying for days and months together, and that his eyes were swollen, he wanted to get the confirmation done with Lakshmana, who said, Naham janami keyure, Naham janami kundale, Nupuretva bhijanami, Nityam padabhi vandanat. I neither recognize the ornament that's worn on the arm, neither in the choker that's worn around the neck. I recognize only the anklet, because that is the only way that I could prostrate at the feet of my divine sister-in-law, who is like my mother. Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi, Mam Vidhi, Janakatmajam, Ayodhya Matavim Vidhi, Gachata Tayata Sukam, says Sumitra. So, there is this occasion in Kishkindha Kandam which states that the Vanaras gathered these ornaments, brought them and collated them together and presented to Sugriva, who showcased them to Rama. This portion is taken by a poet in Purananuru, which is one of the earliest Tamil works that we have recorded so far, with a very acclaimed and celebrated historian who's also my friend, Chitra Madhavan here, I should not be talking about dates. So it's always safe to say between 5th century BCE to 2nd century CE. So somewhere between that. It's one of the oldest works of Purananuru, which is said to have belonged to the last Sangam age. And there are various poets who contribute to making that compendium. In that, one poet says, he says that there was a poet in the locals who was not that celebrated. But one day it happened so that he had Shukra Yoga. In Jatakam, you have Shukra Yoga, right? Shukra Dasha, Shukra Yoga. Jyotishya Shastram is so important to Ramayana, and Govindaraja explores that completely. He says a person who's born on Navami Tithi, Sesha Bhagaha. A person who's born on the Navami Tithi will always leave a balance. That is why Rama kills Subahu and leaves Maricha as balance. He fights 13,999 demons and leaves Akampana as the balance. So this is the dosham of being born on a Navami Tithi, says Govindaraja. Now coming to the point. So this poet sings beautiful poems in front of the king. And the king gives him some jewelry. And this poet goes and showcases this jewelry that he has received as a gift, now as a possession, to his family members. His family members who have been living in the heights of destitution and poverty are unaware which jewelry should be put where. So they start putting the vanki somewhere on the head, the choker on the leg. So they start asthana sneha karunyam. They start misplacing jewelry. That time the poet in Purananuru writes, like how the Vanaras were confused as to which jewelry to put where when Sita threw the jewelry, are these. See, even for a simile, you are so soaked in Ramayanam in the state of Tamil Nadu that you end up borrowing from Ramayanam. So that's where Purananuru begins. Silappadigaram, which is often attributed to the author, who is said to have belonged to the Jaina Matam, Jaina. We have a history of Jaina Matam even in Bhagavatam. We begin from Rishabhanatha. And we have Bhagavad Ramanuja, who extremely condemns it. Not that Shankara and Ramanuja spared Buddhism and Jainism, but they fought it philosophically, not through the sword. So, in Jaina Matam, we have Saptabhangi Vadam and so on. So, this poet is said to have belonged to Jaina Matam. He says in Aichiyar Kuravai, Vadavarayai Mattaki, those of them who do not understand Tamil, the medium of this lecture is in English. But to literally translate every word is going to be seriously impossible. So, it is a beautiful language. I say that with full responsibility. Please learn. So, Vadavarayai Mattaki Vasukiyai Nanaki Kadalvannan Pandurunal Kadalvairu Kalakinaye. Then he says, Muvulagum Yiradial Murai Niramba Vagai Mudia Tavia Sevadi Seppat Tambiyodum Kanpond. Look at the comparison. He says, you know why Rama had to walk in the forest that was infested with thorns and stones? Because he did injustice to Bali. Because he went to Bali's house, Yajnavatika, on the banks of river Narmada. Bali was performing a yagam. Brihaspati Savena, Vajapayam Yajeta is the vakyam. He was doing Vajapayam, Brihaspati Savam. So he, out of great magnanimity, sheer magnanimity, told Vamana, whatever you want, you ask. See, when somebody tells you this, you have to be extremely courteous. He should have just picked 3 measures of land. Instead, he took the entire world. He didn't do justice. The poet says, it's called Nindastuti. He says, in that element of sarcasm, you didn't do justice when you went to the Yajnavatika of Bali and you asked for 3 measures of land. You didn't do justice. Injustice was meted through land. So on the same land, you're doing the prize chittam where the stones prick you. Moovulagum yiradial murai niramba vagai mudiya Taviya sevadi seppat tambiyodum kanpondu, he says. So Silappadigaram talks about Ramayana. Coming to the Alvars, Tirumalizai Piran, he says, Kondai konda kodai meedu ten vulavu kuni kun vundai konda ranga votti vul magilda nadanur. Who is the one who was impressed with letting the hunch go in and come out? Because it seems Rama, in his childhood days, used to take mud balls and attach them to the end of his arrows and shoot at the hunch of Manthara. Tondriya Kuniyum, Tudikkum Nenjinal, Wundriya Veguliyal, Ulekkum Ullatal, Kandru Erinayanatal, Kadikkum Solinal, Mundru Ulaginirkum or Idukkan Muttuval, says Kamban. Kamban describes Manthara. He says, what is her characteristic feature? Staying in one place, she can keep fights in many houses. That Manthara, she had a hunch. And Thirumarisai Piran, the Alvar says that the mud ball used to go and hit at her hunch, and the hunch used to go within her because of that little tingling feeling. And the Lord used to be quite impressed with that hunch going in and coming out. Kondai konda kodai meedu ten ulavu kooni koon, undai konda ranga otti ulmagilnda nadanur. Periyalvar, he states in Periyalvar Tirumozhi, சித்திரகூடத்திருப்ப சிறுக்காக்கை முளைத்தீண்ட எத்திசையும் திரிந்தோடி வித்தகனே ராமாவோ நின்னபயம் என்றழைப்ப அத்திரமே அதன் கண்ணை அறுத்ததும் ஓர் அடையாளம். See the conversation what Periyalvar says. See, roughly historians don't exactly give the date for Alvars. They roughly put them between the 5th and the 8th or the 9th century CE. We don't have an exact date. He was born on this particular date. So I'm talking roughly 750 years before Cambridge was formed. That's our benchmark, right? So, these days when I'm called for lectures, we have speakers who speak before and after. With no offense meant to them, they're all wonderful srishtis. But still, if they're asked to talk about Rama, there's no word like bhakti, murti and all of that. Rama is a momentum. Rama is an energy. Rama is velocity. I doubt if I'm sitting in a physics class. Rama is bhakti personified. Why does it take so much of effort from our side to use our own words and bring in words like mass, momentum, velocity, energy? And I don't know how, and they have no connection with science that way. Okay, let's come back to the topic. Now, see, I'm a person who gives discourses, so I don't stick to the topic. That's the essence of person who does pravachanam. Periyalvar states, these are the identities that Hanuman told Sita. Hanuman, when he meets Sita for the first time in Lanka, she wants to be doubly sure if this is the original messenger, because she didn't ask for this verification from Ravana. So she's now asking, have you come from Rama? How do I believe you? That is when Periyalvar, the father, the foster father of Andal, says, Sittiragudathiruppa Sirukakkai Mulaithinda. Mother, do you remember while both you and Rama were housed in the forests of Chitrakuta, there was this kaka, the crow that came and pecked at your bosom, that blood oozed, and then Rama took a blade of grass, made that into an aishikam, which is a brahmastram, and at the end of it, as a sign of his punishment, took away one of the eyes of the crow. This is what Periyalvar says, what Hanuman told Sita. But those of you who have read the Ramayana will know in Sundarakandam, Hanuman does not tell this to Sita. Sita tells this to Hanuman. So the commentator asks, how could Periyalvar shift this story? Immediately we will have our own jnanis who will say, no sir, this happened in the previous Chaturyuga. वो पहले वाला रामायण था, वो 1.0 था, अभी 2.0 में जो बोल रहे हैं, वैसा नहीं हो सकता है ना. See, that's where my Pracharya, who was Mahamahopadhyay Uttamur Swami, he used to state, look at the verses of Valmiki Ramayanam. When Sita narrates to Hanuman about this Kakasura incident, there are 4 verses which is told in first person, 3 in second person. See, for example, Sita tells Hanuman, Hanuman, when both of us were staying together, this happened. Suddenly she'll say, Rama, I told you, right? Suddenly she'll make the conversation between her and Rama. 3 verses will be between her and Hanuman. So those verses which are between her and Rama was not known to Hanuman. Those which were told to Hanuman directly was known to the world. So what is known to the world can be conveyed by Hanuman to Sita. So Periyalvar shifts that in Periyalvar Tirumozhi. So this is another message which my Acharya has resolved. Andal, such a devotee of Krishna, she explores Krishna everywhere. Shangodu Chakkaram Yendum Tadakkayan Mannu Vadamadurai Maindan Urutti Maganai Pirandu Orirevil Thuya Peruneer Yamunai Kadandu Urutti Maganai Volithu Valara Peimulai Nanjundu Kallachagadam Kalakkaliya Kalochi Kundru Kunila Verindane Kundru Kudaya Veduthonai. Every bit of Krishna Avataram is described by Andal, who's referred to Krishna Devaraya as Amukta Malyada. But she tells whom she loves the most. Shinattinal Tennilangai Komanai Chetra Manattu Kiniyan. You know who has impressed my mind and heart? It is the one who killed the king of Lanka. Sinathinal Tennilangai Komanai Chetra Manattukiniyan. So Andal speaks about Rama. Tondaradi Podiyalvar, who, you know, Tondaradi Podiyalvar, those of you who have known Tondaradi Podiyalvar, he gave 2 prabandhams. One is called Tirumalai, the other one is it is called Tirupalli Ezhuchi. Those of them who claim to support the Tamil language will find it tough to pronounce. It is Tirupalli Ezhuchi. Now, Tondaradi Podiyalvar was extremely famous to bring about the lesser known Upakhyanams. We have Vishnu Trayam, we have Vishnu Puranam, Vishnu Dharmam, and Vishnu Dharmottara Puranam. So these are 3 books. In Vishnu Dharmam, we have one anecdote called Mudgalopakhyanam. It is found only in Vishnu Dharmam. Tondaradi Podiyalvar is the only poet, to my knowledge, whatever I've read in Shastram, who invokes this. Namanum Mudgalanum Pesa, Narage Ninnargal Ketka, Naragame Suvargamagum, Namangal Udaya Nambi. So he tells about the squirrels that performed Kainkaryam to the Ramasetu. Remember, Valmiki does not make a mention about the squirrels. In Setu Bandhanam, there is no mention of the squirrels. There is a Upakhyanam called Setu Bandhana Kavyam by Pravarasena, who belonged to Maharashtra. He gave the Setu Bandhana Kavyam, which has 2,500 verses in Prakritam, how the Setu was constructed. It has been invoked in Kavya Darsha as well. He does not talk about the squirrels either. The only person who makes mention of squirrel is Tondaradi Podiyalvar. He says, Malaigal Nukka Kulithitham Purandittodi Malaigal Utta Silamila Anilum Polen. Like the squirrels that, you know what squirrels did? It's an interesting conversation. The commentator Periyavachan Pillai tells 900 years back. It seems some monkeys were carrying large boulders and rocks and were throwing them into the sea. But between the rocks, you need something to fill the gap. Somebody has to do the masonry work. So the squirrels got together. They used to bathe. They said, monkeys, you don't even have acharam. You're not bathing. See, they used to jump into the oceanic waters with their wet bodies. They used to come and roll their wet bodies on the fine sand of the sea. So their body was filled with sand. They used to go between the rocks and used to shake their body. All the sand used to go between the crevices. So they used to tell the monkeys, the pace at which you're working, it will never get completed. Do fast. So that was the commentary to that particular shloka. So that is why, I don't know why, Anil in Sanskritam or Tamil, service is called Seva, Sevai. Tamil Nadu has this brand, Anil Sevai. I have not taken a single rupee from them. Okay. Tiruppanalvar. Tiruppanalvar, he says, Sadurama Madilshul Ilangai Kiraivan Talai Pattum Udiravoti Vor Venganai Kuitavan Vodavannan. Vedanta Deshika gives an exquisite commentary true to his name, Vedanta Acharya, called Munivahana Bhogam on Tiruppanalvar's Prabandham. He says, this particular Lanka had Mummadil. Whenever the Tamil poets describe Lanka, they will call it the 3-layered fort. Because it has water as a fortress on one side, then there are mountains, and then there is forest. So there are 3 layers that Hanuman and the Vanaras had to cross. So there is a clear mention of Tiruppanalvar in his Prabandham Amalanadipiran. I don't have to talk about Tirumangayalvar because he says, Yezhai Edalan Kilmagan Yennadirangi Machavar Kinnarul Shurandu Malaiman Madanoki Umbi Embi Endrolindilai. See, when Rama meets Guha, Guha was a childhood friend of Rama. He belonged to the Nishada Jati. So he was a boatsman and a hunterman. So he meets Guha for the first time and he has to introduce Sita. So what should he do? Sita, this is my good friend Guha. From today onwards, make friends with him or accept his friend request or whatever. This should be the conversation. But Alvar says, Umbi Embi Endrolindilai. Rama did not make a conversation like that. He said, Sita, this is Guha, a very nice man, learned man, very benevolent. He's your friend. So he's my friend. Umbi Embi. Point is, till now I might have known him. You have seen us now. Only if you accept him as your friend, I will accept him as my friend. Umbi Embi Endrolindilai, says Tirumangayalvar. So you have a list of Sri Vaishnava saints, the Alvars who have described Ramayanam head to toe. There is one work called Pasurappadi Ramayanam. Periyavachan Pillai has taken verses from the 4,000 esoteric verses of the mystic saints called the Alvars and strung the entire Ramayanam together. திருமடந்தை மன்மடந்தை இருபாலும் திகழ நலவந்தமில்லதோர் நாட்டில் பேரின்பத்து அடியரோடு தனிக்கோல் செல்ல வீற்றிருக்கும் அயர்வரும் அமரர்கள் அதிபதியான அணியார் பொழில்சூழ் அரங்கநகரப்பன் அலைநீர் கடலுள்ளழுந்தும் நாவாய்ப்போல் ஆவாரார் துணையென்று துலங்கும் நல்லமரர் துயர்த்தீர வல்லரக்கர் வாழ்வை பாழ்படுக்க வெண்ணி கல்லை பெண்ணாக்கி வாளால் சிலையறுத்து மைதிலியை மனம் புணர்ந்து 21 கால். It just goes on. It goes on. Now, the moment I have a Tripundram and I speak about the Alvars, some Paramagyani commentator will write, see, he is a fanatic. He doesn't talk about the Nayanmars. There are close to 700 verses from the Tirumurais where the Nayanmars make mention of Rama and the Ramayana. Ramayana does not belong to one sect. It belongs to Dharma. And even people who hated Rama finally had to live with that name for quite some time. Arunagirinatha, the celebrated devotee to Kartikeya, Muruga, because Muruga is celebrated in the Tamil land. But trust me, the mention of Kumara Sambhavam, the Shabdam occurs in Balakandam of Ramayanam. Rama listens to Kumara Sambhavam. 9 different anecdotes Rama listens. Vedanta Deshika says, Kushika Sutta Katitha Vidita Nava Vividha Kata. 9 anecdotes Rama listens. In Balakandam, he listens to Sharavana. Sharam is a reed. Wherever you have the reeds of Shara, it is called Sharavana. Because he slid from the amniotic sac of Ganga, that's Kannam Karoti, it is Kandaha. That Skanda becomes Kanda in Tamil. He's called Guha. So, the essence of Kartikeya Charitram comes in Valmiki Ramayanam. Arunagirinatha, when he celebrates Rama's greatness in Tiruppugal, the first Tiruppugal, Muttai Tarubatti Tirunagayattikira Shakti Charavana, Muttikkuruvittukkuruvarayana Vodum, Mukkatparamarkuchurudin, Mutpattadu Karpittiruvaru, Muppattumuvarakkattamurarum Adipena, Pattittalavattakkanadoru, Vachaikkiremathai Puruduru, Pattapadavattatigiri, Iravaga, he mentions of Rama, he calls him Pachaipuyal, the personification of flawless beauty who shines like the emerald that's cut from a mountain. So Arunagirinatha gives a very beautiful description. He goes very close to what Vedanta Deshika says, Namastasmai Kasmai Chana. He says, when Rama walked by Mithilopavanam, Mithilopavanam is the outskirts of Mithila where the ashram of Shatananda and Gautama was. So there was this lady who was deemed to be a stone, because there is no word of stone in Valmiki Ramayanam. She looked like a piece of stone called Ahalya. And Rama was going to Mithila to marry Sita. And what was the CV? Empty. What was the achievement of Rama? He listens to his parents. Who will give their daughter in marriage? Maapla yarna appa amma vecha keparna kudupalo. Neengale vechukungomba. Adnale what was the achievement of Rama? Vishwamitra had this Herculean arduous task to fill his CV. So while he walked past the hermitage of Shatananda and Gautama, it seems Rama's feet touched Ahalya, and that was more than enough for Sita to marry. Why? Because she wanted to marry somebody who's pure gold. And Rama's feet, whenever they are described by the Acharyas, it is compared to lotus. Kararavindena Padaravindam. But Arunagirinatha says the feet of Rama was akin to that of gold. Why? Because to test the purity of gold, you have to rub it against a stone. His feet touched the stone and she proved right. So, the one who proved Rama was gold was Ahalya, so she got married to Rama. This is what Arunagirinatha says. So there is a plethora, there is a melange of poets in the Tamil tradition who have added such color. I started with Valmiki Ramayanam celebrated commentary in Sanskritam called Bhushanam by Govindaraja. Then I arrived at Alvars. I went to Silappadigaram and Purananuru. The Vagayakaras, the musicians of this land, how much beauty they have added. I bring Kamban in that because I don't call him a poet. He's a musical poet. இவ்வண்ணம் நிகழ்ந்தவண்ணம் இனி இந்த உலகுக்கெல்லாம் உய்வண்ணம் அந்திமற்றோர் துயர்வண்ணம் உருவதுண்டோ மைவண்ணத் தரக்கி போரில் மழைவண்ணத்து அண்ணலே உன் கைவண்ணம் அங்கு கண்டேன் கால் வண்ணம் இங்கு கண்டேன். When people of this world are accustomed to punishing the other person with the foot and embracing through their hands, you have done the opposite, Rama. You have killed Tataka with your hands and embraced Ahalya with your foot. What great achievement you have done. Kaivannam angu kandeen, Kalvannam ingu kandeen. When Hanuman returns from Lanka and meets Rama, he says, Rama, I saw the lady who gave back the intrinsic characteristic feature of my kulam back to me. I belong to Vanara kulam. A Vanara is supposed to be indecisive, whether to talk or not to talk, whether to come or not to come. Indecisiveness is the feature of a Vanara. Till I met Rama, I was indecisive. Till I met you, Rama, I was indecisive. I did not know who is the one who is to be venerated and paid obeisances to. The moment I saw you, Rama, I thought you are the one. Idam ekam sunishpannam. I was clear, undoubtedly, nissandeham, that I have to propitiate to you. But after meeting Sita, I've changed my decision. I'll propitiate to her. So I've become indecisive again. So who has given me this indecisiveness back? It is Sita. Yenkulam yennadaki uyarpugalku uruttiyaya tankulam tannadaki tannai ittanimai seidan vankulam kootrukku eendu vaanavar kulathai vaalvittu yenkulam enakku thandaal ennini seivadu emmoi, says Kamban. 10,348 verses. The earliest known Ramayana version, a transcreation in a Bharatiya language besides Sanskritam, is Kamba Ramayana. Of course, there was something before that, Kakavin Ramayanam of the Javanese, but that's outside the land. So Kamban has presented Tyagaraja, the Telugu poet who lived by the banks of Panchanadi Kshetram, whom we think we can venerate by just adorning ourselves with lungi today, says, he brings the tradition. He is a Telugu person who settled for generations in the Tamil land. He does not want to give up his tradition of the Telugu marriage where there is a curtain drawn between the boy and the girl. Marugu, Telugu bhashalo, Marugu ante madhyallo unna yavanika. Between the boy and the girl, Marugu ante madhyallo unna yavanika. Curtainiki Marugu anta peru. So it is as if Sita asks Rama, see, I want to see you. Why is the screen between us? Marugu yelara vo raghava. Marugu yelara. Adi oka vichedam chestunnarante adi marugu yelara. Okati ante marugelara. Marugelara. Of course, I keep asking sorry to all the people who speak Telugu that we are butchering their lyrics. But anyways, we at least sing. So, Marugu yelara, after Tyagaraja, O Raghava, Marugela chara chara rupa. Every kriti of Tyagaraja, he says, Oka Kirtanalu, Bantu ante, the royal guard, whoever is the chamberlain who protects the apartment is called Bantu. Telugu bhashalo Bantu. It's not Pantu, it's a Bantu. So Tyagaraja says, give me the position of being the chamberlain to your apartment. Bantu riti koluvu viyavaiya Rama. Then Rama will ask him in return, right? What are your qualifications to be my Bantu? Tyagaraja says, as the chamberlain, whenever I listen to your Ramayanam Rama, I get goosebumps. Romanchamane ghana kanchukamu. Tarvata, next. I have a tattoo. What is that tattoo? Rama Bhakta, Rama Bhaktudanu Mudra Villayu. What other qualification do you have? I have a weapon. Oh my goodness, somebody in Bombay had a weapon and had to go to the jail. What weapon are you having? Rama Nama Mane Varakhagami Virajillu Naiga Tyagarajo Nike Banturite Koluvu. How are the lyrics and the devotion of my Tyagaraja anyway less than any other poet? So Tyagaraja celebrates him. Every kriti. Even if he has to sing about Krishna, there will be Rama. Sadhinchane is about Krishna. That Pancharatna Madhyalo unna kriti, it is completely about Krishna, but there is one Rama there. Hare Rama Chandra Raghukulesha Mrudu Subhaja Sesha Shayana Paranari Sodar Raja. Rama will come there. Muttuswami Dikshitar. Rama Vibhakti Kirtana. Basic Sanskritam we know. Ram, of Ram, by Ram, for Ram. Ramaha, Ramasya, Ramayo, Ramena. For every Vibhakti he has written a Kirtana. Shri Ramachandro Rakshatu Mam. Prathama Vibhakti. Ramachandram bhavayami raghukula Ramachandram. So it becomes the object. Dvitiya vibhakti. Ramachandrasya dasoham Shri Sita Nayakasya Guru Guha Hitasya Ramachandrena Ramachandrasya Ramakali. 9 kritis. Then he writes independent ones. Kshitija Ramanam Chintaye. In Devagandhari there is one Kokilam. The amount that they have spent on Rama Bhakti is priceless. What do I speak of Sadashiva Brahmendra, one of the greatest scholars in Advaita? Pibare Ramarasam Rasane. Remember, everything I'm saying is coming from this land, this part of the country. Pibare Ramarasam Rasane. Pibare Ramarasam. One another composer who was pre-Tyagaraja, pre-Trimurtis, who lived in a hamlet. I don't even know the GPS even recognizes the proper route. It's called Uttukkadu. Venkatakavi says, Mallikadi Sugandhamaya Navamalikadi Shobita Galena Ullasa Parishilana Chamara Ubhaya Pashvena Kundala Kelana Kalyana Rama. Uttukadu Kavi says. Arunachala Kavi, one amongst the 3 Tamil Trinity, Muttuttandavar, Marimutta Pillai and Arunachala Kavi. Arunachala Kavi has written an exclusive Gaya Natakam called Ramanatakam. He says how Sita was. When Hanuman met Sita and then came back to Rama stating that I've seen Sita, Rama goes into the details to understanding how she was in treatment, what treatment was meted to Ravana. Panikala vari jampola nirankusi pagalbor Yugamaga Karitale Prayasi Ninaitange Ravana non var Chi Nillada Yendre Yesi Tanitu Tan Uir Tanai Tan Vida Magarasi Sarum Pode Karnum Samayami Devasi Initamadam Sayal Agarendrider Pesi Rama Endredir Peshi Kanden Sitaye. How can you even end up explaining this lyrics? What bhavartham and bhakti that person had? Of course, it's a very sad part that we have one small set of musicians who get into the concept of saying that there is no need for bhakti. I have to leave it to their own, because in Sanatana Dharma we also believe karma is an integral part. And my acharyas have never told me to be abusive. I know how to give it back with elegance. So, bhakti was central to Shastriya Sangeetam. There is no question of whether it is a part or not. There was an acharya of the Kanchi Peetham called Bhagavannama Bodhindral. He gave Ramakarnamritam, Kalyananam, Nidhanam, Kalimathamathanam, Pavanam, Pavananam. It is said you go to Govindapuram, you can even listen to the Ramanamam while you're being on that Adhishtanam. I have to talk about my hero, the person whom I love, Vedanta Deshika. He's a polymath, a polyglot, a dietitian, a mathematician, a philosopher, a dramatist, what not he was. That one personality. His Raghuvira Gadyam, one is enough to celebrate the essence of Ramayanam. He uses the toughest of the words in Sanskritam, puts them into prose. Remember, any person who is an acharya will never attempt prose, because prose can never be remembered. It is only poetry which can be remembered. Betty Botta bought some butter. See, we remember so well. Isn't that an essential component of our Vedanta Shastram? And the twinkle? Complete, come on. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, and that person who sat on the wall and fell, what's his name? See, everything is poetry. Vedanta Deshika goes the other way. He thought Robert Frost said, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler longer. I stood and looked down one as far as I could. He took the other way. He said, I'll take up to prose. Jaya Jaya Mahavira Mahadhira. When you recite Raghuvira Gadyam, you have to make sure the person who's sitting or standing opposite you is 10 feet away. Amrita Varshini. Jaya Jaya Mahavira Mahadhira Dhaureya Devasura Samara Samaya Samudita Nikhila Nirjara Nirdharita Niravadhika Mahatmya Dashavadana Damita Daivata Parishada Bhyathita Dasharati Bhava Dinakara Kulakamala Divakara Divisha Dadipati Rana Sahacharana Chatura Dasharata Charamaruna Vimochana Kosala Suta Kumara Bhava Kanchukita Karanakara Kaumara Keli Gopayita Kaushikadhvara Ranadhvara Dhurya Bhavya Divyastra Brinda Vandita Pranata Jana Vimata Vimatana Dullalita Dollalita Tanutara Vishika Vitadana Vigatita Vishararu Shararu Tataka Tatake Yajada Kirana Shakala Dhara Jatilana Tapati Makutata Natanapatu Vibuda Saridati Atibakula Madugalana Lalita Pada Nalina Raja Upamridita Nijabrijina Jahadupala Tanuruchira Parama Munivara Yuvatinuta Kushika Suta Katita Vidita Navavividakata Maithila Nagara Sulochana Lochana Chakora Chandra Khanda Parashuko Danda Prakandana Khandana Shaunda Bujadanda Chandakara Kirana Mandala Bodhita Pundarika Vanaruchi Luntaka Lochana Mochita Janaka Hridaya Shankatanka Parihrita Nikhila Narapati Varana Janaka Duhitu Kuchatata Viharana Samuchita Karatala Shatakoti Shatakuna Katina Parashudara Munivara Karadhuta Duravanamatama Nijadanura Karshana Prakashita Paramishtia Kratuhara Shikhari Kantuka Vihrutyun Muka Jagadiruntuta Jitahari Danti Danta Danturonta Dashavadana Damana Kushala Dasha Shata Bhujamuka Nrupatikula Rudira Jara Bharita Prututara Tataka Tarpita Pitrika Bhrugupati Sugati Vihatikara Nata Parudishu Pariga. This is Balakandam. Whenever we are trained in our Sampradayam, the first challenge that our Acharyas will give to us is to learn Raghuvira Gadyam. If you learn Raghuvira Gadyam, this Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu, Mangalam Garudadvaja, Jai Jagadisha Hare, all that is cakewalk. You can take Mysore Park walk or something. Let's impress Anand Ranganathan for some time. So, Raghuvira Gadyam is a testimony to the bhakti that this land gave. 1,000 years back, one of the greatest philosophers, Ramanujacharya, Shamitodaya Shankaradi Garvaha Swabalat Udhrita Yadava Prakashaha Avaropitavan Shruter Aparthan Nanurama Varajaha Sayesha Bhuyaha, the one who was born in the hamlet of Sri Perumbudur 1,000 years back in 1017 CE. He went to the foothills of Tirumala Tirupati. You know why? To learn the nuances of Ramayanam from the Moolam for 1 year. For 1 year he said, I need to learn the Rahasyams of Ramayanam. His maternal uncle, Matula, who was called Sri Shaila Purna, was performing Kainkaryam atop Tirupati. Imagine that scenario where Tirupati had no devotees. You can't even imagine. Tirupati had nobody coming in, going out. It was infested. It was amidst the forests. There was only one person who was doing Ghataka Inkaryam. They used to carry pots of water from Akasha Ganga and go. So that's how they became Ghatambi, which became Kidambi. Kidambi all belong to the Gotram of Atreya. Atri Maharshi. Atreyas are Kidambis. Not all Atreyas are Kidambis, but all Kidambis are Atreyas. It is like Carnot engine in physics. Now, he went to his maternal uncle, and the maternal uncle said, you come up the hill. I will teach you Ramayana Visesharthams. Ramanuja said, see, the Lord isn't in the hill. The hill is the Lord. I will not climb the hill. The students stayed at the foothills. The Acharya used to come every day, explain Ramayana and go for 1 full year. And learning from that 1 year, he coded 18 Rahasyas of Ramayana. Bahyakshepaha, Kalartaha, Bhavabayam, Sadvrittam, Acharyavatta, Gayatriyartaha, Hitamuchitaparam, Tattva Arthamscha Pancha, Karpanyam, Seshabhavaha, Ghatakavidipalam, Paratantriyam Tatatat, Kashthakala Pratiksha, Vasati Padamiti, Prahuhu, Ashtadasharthan, 18 Rahasyas. One Rahasya is the first letter of the first verse of every set of 1,000 verses in Ramayanam. If you put them together, you get Gayatri Mantram. See, what is the first shlokam? First, verse 1. Tapasvadhyaya niratam. What is the letter? Ta. Then you will have Vishwamitra. Sa vitur. Sa will come. Vi. Tu. Va. Re. Ni. Yam. So from the 24,000 verses, if you take the first letter from the first verse, you will get the entire Gayatri Mantra. That is one Rahasyam. That has been coded in the commentary. Ramanuja says this. So beginning from Purananuru, Silappadigaram, Alvars, Nayanmars, Ramanuja, Vedanta Deshika, Kambar, Vagayakaras like Sadashiva Brahmendra, Tyagaraja, Muthuswami Dikshitar. Of course, Shyama Shastri was a Sri Vidya Upasaka. He has not sung, but he has sung one Kriti on Varadaraja, a Varnam on Varadaraja, but not on Rama exclusively. Uttukadu Kavi, Papanasam Shivan, Ramanai bhajital noivinai teerume, Sanchala magandridume Sita. Those of you who have come from places which is beyond Chennai, you will know that during the December, January, it's called the season time here because during the month of Margazhi, it is said spend time in propitiating gods exclusively. So there is music and dance. Trust me, in every concert you will have a Kriti in Tamil, you will have an Abhang in Marathi, you will have one Devarnama in Kannada, you will have 4 or 5 Kritis in Telugu, you will have one bhajan in Hindi, you will have one in Marwari, you will have one in Malayalam. Don't trust the t-shirts here, people who wear saying that we don't want to learn the languages. There are people who celebrate languages better. So this is one city. I tell you with full confidence, in a year I give 250 discourses across the country, not sparing one city. I give in English, I give in Kannada, I give in Tamil. I can tell you the amount of literary contribution done from the times of Valmiki Ramayanam to the Bhakti literature, Tamil Nadu is number 1. I can say and I can prove it. This is the land of Bhakti. I am not saying it. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada asks the lady, who are you? She says, Utpanna Dravide Saham. My name is Bhakti. She says, my name is Bhakti. It comes in the first skandam of Srimad Bhagavatam. She says, I am Bhakti. You know where I was born, Narada? Dravide Saham. I was born in the Dravida Desha. I spent my young days in Karnataka. I went to high school in Maharashtra. Tatam Gurjare Gata. Then I settled in Gujarat. She talks about these 4 states which contribute the highest GST to the till date. Right? These 4 states. Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat. Am I right or wrong? So this is from Bhagavatam. So the point that I would like to conclude is, all our acharyas, all our vagayakaras, I'm not trying to be very jingoistic about just this state, there's a plethora of acharyas across the country, but with full confidence and utmost humility, I'm telling you, Ramayanam is, people were soaked in Ramayanam in this region. Soaked. You take any family here, any family, random person, you ask them, is somebody named after Rama, Raghava, Ramaswamy? Somebody will be there. Vaidehi, Sita, Janaki, Anjaneya, Hanu, something. There'll be somebody. So this is a state, just not for name's sake, even in literature has contributed immensely to Bhakti literature. And I'm extremely happy that in this given time I could speak. I have another 15 minutes left. So I would like to open this session for more questions, if you have any questions, please. Thank you, Shefali. She's wearing such a beautiful Ramar blue with Rudraksham border.
Namaskaram. You are referring to Periyavachan Pillai. So, on the last வந்து சூட்டு நன் மாலைகள் அணிந்துன்னு வந்து அந்த இது முடியும். அந்த சூட் வந்து நம்ம போடுற கோட் சூட்டா இல்ல அது
சூட்டுவதுன்னா அணிவது.
It's only just wearing.
அணிவதுதான். இல்ல பட் ஆனா see, a lot of the ideas for the dress that we wear are also derived from our past. See, it's not that suddenly Louis Vuitton only tells us what to wear and what not to wear. It's not that. A lot of it comes from architecture. See, rightfully, she's my very good friend. She's very learned. Chitra has dealt with this in many lectures where she explains the footwear of the sculptures that teach us style. See, I'll give you one example. When we talk, your basic point was suit. Whatever we are wearing today is the fashion of the day. Was it there then? அப்படி இல்லை. ஷூட்டுங்கிறது வந்து அணிவது தான். maybe there would have been a relation. I don't know. I'm not in that sphere of research. So, but one thing is, we had fashionistas in those days. You know, when Vishwamitra calls Rama, the beautiful part is he says, Kakapaksha dharam. Send me that son of yours. You know, I see my wife doing it. So you pull that hair and then you roll it. You know, there's a pencil-like thing with which you roll. That's called Kakapaksham in Sanskritam. So Rama used to have Kakapaksham. And here the commentator says, Kakapaksham was the fashion of those days. So when Vishwamitra asks for Rama, he doesn't say, give me your son Rama. He's a poet, right? He says, give me that son of yours who has Kakapaksham. So of the four, only Rama had Kakapaksham. Kakapaksha dharam veeram, he says. So Ramayana has to be looked into Madhura Aksharam. Every letter has something to say. Next question.
Sir, Namaskaram. This is Pandit Sampatraj Sharma, Sampath. இதில் ராமரோட இன்றைக்கி வந்து வேர்ல்டு பூரா என்ன சொல்கிறாங்க, ஒவ்வொரு கண்ட்ரிக்கு நடுவில் சண்டைகள் நடக்கிறது, பிரதர்லியாக இருக்கணும், ஒருத்தருக்கு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் இருக்கணும், விட்டு கொடுக்கக்கூடியது, மன்னிக்கக்கூடியது அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறோம். பாரதம் தான் அதில் நம்பர் 1. எதிரியாக இருந்தவங்களுக்கு கூட கஷ்ட காலத்தில் மருந்துகளை கொடுத்து நம்ம ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுறோம் அப்படிங்கிறப்ப இந்த நல்ல ஒரு எண்ணம் எங்கே இருந்ததுன்னா ஸ்ரீ ராமச்சந்திரமூர்த்தி கிட்டே தான் வந்தது. அவர் தன்னுடைய பரதாழ்வார்கிட்ட வந்து சொல்கிறார், அட்வைஸ் பண்ணுறார். நான் இப்போ என்னோட பாதுகை எடுத்துகிட்டு போய் நீ ஆளுப்பா, தப்பு கிடையாது, நீ எப்படி நடந்துக்கணும்னா புகையுடை தென்னினன்றோ பொங்கடல் அங்கே.
Please ask the question, sir.
Yes, question. மிகையுடை துலகம் ஒரு விடயமும் வேண்டார் பாற்றே பகையுடை சிந்தையாருக்கும் பயனூறு பண்பின் தீரா நகையுடை முகத்தையாகி நல்குறை நல்வார். அவர் என்ன சொல்கிறார், பகையான சிந்தை உள்ளவங்களுக்கும் கூட நீ நல்லதே செய் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறார். இது உங்களுடைய வாசகத்தில் இதை பற்றி உங்களுடைய கருத்துக்கள்.
கருத்தா நீங்கள் சொல்கிறதெல்லாம் சரிதான். See, Shatroho Prakhyata Viryasya Ranjaniyasya Vikramaihi, says Valmiki. Rama's greatness was not to get great testimonials from his own mother wife. Even the people who were the direct affected parties like Shurpanakha, Tara, Mandodari, they will do a stuti when they see a Rama. See, the greatest achievement of a leader is to get testimonials from your opposition. Shatroho Prakhyata. Rama did that because of his magnanimity. So I second, sir. Concurrent tighter value. Next question. Shoot. Oh, Pavitra ji. Namaskaram.
Ram Dushyanth ji, it's a pleasure to always listen to you. With your awe-inspiring discourses, you're imparting so much knowledge to the society. What do you expect of the society to do? What homework must the society do?
This topic of whatever Pavitra ji has asked, I have had the opportunity to have her work in our Sanskrita movie as Gautami. So she was playing the role of Shakuntala's foster mother in the Sanskrita movie. So I admire her work. I know how much of devotion she has to Puja Shri Dayananda Saraswati Swami and what work she does in Bhagavad Gita. Now her question is the topic for Ananda Shankar ji's festival on March 31st at 6 p.m. in Hyderabad. But assuming most of you won't come there, I'll tell you here. So she's asking what next? Yeah, after this, what next? Yeah, I get it. See, we all concentrate to 4 words that I would just like to quickly tell. Prama. Prama means jnanam, knowledge. Prama means knowledge. That which records that knowledge and gives to us is called pramanam. You know, Vedam, Vedanta, Itihasa, Puranas, they are called pramanam because they give us that prama, knowledge. So prama, knowledge. Pramanam is that book. The one who is denoted by the pramanam is called prameyam. So you learn Ramayana to understand Paramatma as Rama. You learn Mahabharatam to understand Paramatma as Krishna. So there is a prameyam, the object who is denoted by that pramanam. 4th is us. We need to read all of this. So we are called pramata. So prama, pramanam, prameyam, pramata. Today we concentrate more on prameyam. Today we say Rama Janmabhoomi has come. Good, very good. We all have to go visit. We have to have a darshan. Good. But we are concentrating so much on prameyam. But we are not concentrating on pramanam. See, today when I used to stay in Pilani, we used to have one person who used to give lectures. Used to this Anantarama Dikshitar lectures and, you know, the Upanyasams of the South, I used to go sit there. Sita Maiya ne Ramji se शादी किया, दोनों बन गए, रावण ने आकर उनको अपहरण कर दिया. In 4 lines he'll complete Ramayanam. For us, for that one shloka, we have to sit Madhuram, Madhuraksharam. Why he has used Madhuram? For that, my Acharya will give 10 days of discourse on that particular Vyakhyanam. Why this in-depth understanding of Pramanam is important? If your understanding of Pramanam is weak or negligible, your foundation can easily be shaken. You know, if people ask you questions, simple questions they will ask you. When the payasam was given, first Kaushalya took, then it was given to Sumitra. As per Ramayanam, it was given to Sumitra, then to Kaikeyi and again to Sumitra. Anuchintya Sumitrayai Punareva Mahamatihi. But the order in which the children were born was different. It was Rama's son Bharata, Kaushalya's son Rama, Kaikeyi's son Bharata. Why did that order change? For that there is an explanation in the Vyakhyanam. Uttara Phalguni Nakshatre. Uttara Phalgunam is Uttaram Nakshatram. When the marriage took place of Rama with Sita, it was on Uttaram. But there is a Dharma Shastric rule that you cannot hold multiple marriages on the same stage. Nashyo bhavati. Then some of the marriages will not succeed. There is a rule in Jyotisha Shastra. But how did Dasharatha do? Is it for cost cutting? 4 marriages. Ore pattapa vichu mudichutla. Why? What is the resolution to it? When Rama left Ayodhya, what was his age? You know, it has been clearly established. When Rama was married, he had not touched 12. He was running the 10th year, and upon the marriage he completed 11th. Sita was 6. When Rama left Ayodhya, he completed 24 and it was his 25th year. He left on Chaitra Masam. He left on the Paurnami because that later night he had, there was an eclipse. When he returned, he was 39. Clearly said. How do we derive? See, somebody can ask, how are you telling so clearly? There are 5 statements in Ramayanam. 5 simultaneous equations. If you keep Sita's age as X and Rama's age as Y, you will get 5 equations and you will get this age. All this is there. But my point is, not every person in the society is expected to do research. You know, people have their own life, they have their own problems. But at least take the efforts to read and listen. Today the art of listening is gone. We are always on temple is built. But you have to know the pramanam to understand prameyam. You have to know Ramayanam, else your foundation will be shaken. Somebody will just say, pregnant Sita was sent to the forest. What do you think of this man? He did Agni Pariksha for his wife. Do you call him a Maryada Purushottam? He killed Vali when he was in the hiding. How dare he interfere in somebody else's kingdom? If they go through 3 questions, we'll be startled. Apadiya Dora. Sami ennovo solraru. Periya Sami yarukaru avaru. That's all. We'll be rattled. Our foundation is gone. What will you do with a temple when you don't have knowledge of Ramayana? So, answer to Pavitraji's question is, the society, whichever age you are, learn your pramanam first. Various sources are there. Today we are living in a different world. You sit in one place, how many people you can listen to? You don't have to go physically. You do something, walking, gymming, driving, sleeping, do something and listen. So that's my thing. What is the time? We have 3:15 I have to complete. We have got 9 more minutes.
Yeah. Dushyanth.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. நீங்க பார்த்ததுலயே ரொம்ப அழகான திருமேனி ராமர்து எந்த கோயில் அத பத்தி ஒரு வேர்ட்ஸ் உங்க வாயால
வடுவூர்
அத வந்துச்சு.
Actually, we have a celebrated author who does so much of Kainkaryam for the Dharma through bringing the Prameyam back. You know?
She showed us Vaduvur Ramar.
He's a great contributor to Dharma. See, I have no such verse, but I can tell you one thing. Those of them who are outside Chennai, there are various kshetrams to Rama which I'm sure Chitraji would have brought into the discussion today. There is this place called Vaduvur. It's a small village, very close to Mannargudi, which was famous for different reasons a few years back. So in Vaduvur, you have this Utsava Murti. See, in Agama Shastram, Utsava Murti is more important than the Mula Murti. But you know, every temple we concentrate only on the Mula Murti because Utsava Murti is what has the right word in English is powers. Not in Sanskritam word, Sarvashaktinam Yetam, it goes into that. Vaduvur Rama is beautiful. See, initially when Ram Lalla was installed, I was called to speak. initially it took little time for me to absorb Rama of Ayodhya, because you know why? There is one statement in the Ramayanam when Dasharatha asks his ministers, I'm planning to coronate Rama as the heir apparent. What qualities does he have? So there are 30 shlokas in the first few sargas of Ayodhya Kandam where each one says, he's very good, you cannot, whatever decision he takes, he will never tell it outside. From his face, you can never guess what he's thinking. He will guess what you are thinking. All these beautiful shlokas. That time when Vamadeva says, Rama is adept in dance. There is one line, Vaiharikaha, he's very adept in dance. But we are used to only Krishna dancing, right? However hefty he was, he danced in the Rasa Krida. He's not bothered about what body shaming anybody does. Bindas, he'll dance. So he danced on the snake and everything. In the Sangeet nights before the marriage. And whereas Rama is very careful, but Rama had a physique that suited dance. He had broad shoulders, thin hip, everything. But he was adept in dance. In dance, see, you go to any dancer. We have Pavitra ji here, we had Ananda ji for some time back. So you go to any dancer, they will give the best poses for photos. Have you seen? They are used to. See, the moment you say Shringaram, they will come up with a face. You say Karuna, they'll give a face. Normal people, if you tell, we'll be wondering, Karuna na enna, the actor irukare, Karuna savakare. Yeah. Inda mari da namakku thono. But that expression, that anger you have to get. The moment they say lotus, their hands will go like this. The basic attribute of a dancer is to stand in Tribhangam. They'll never stand straight. One foot this side, leg bent, hip tilted. This is the Rama we are used to in Tamil Nadu. You take any Rama, Tillai Valaham, anywhere. Whereas Ram Lalla was different. He is a nationalist. He stood in national anthem position. Straight. So it took little time for me to absorb that Murti in my mind. Now the question is, which Murti, see, Matriyoni Araichiyum, Murti Araichiyum, Matriyoniyai Vukkum. There is one statement 900 years back by an Acharya called Pillalokacharya. Once the deity is established as Murti, if we compare, this is better, that is good, it is said Matriyoniyai Vukkum. It is like telling, am I born to this mother? So you should never compare once the pratishtha is done. But since you've asked, I can always say that I love Vaduvur Ramar the best. His lips, his smile, his... it's beyond Vachama Gocharam. But my Pracharya, the one who taught me Sri Bhashyam, was Karunakaracharya Swami. His father was Srinidhi Swami. He was a great poet, Ashu Kavi. He'll write immediately in Sanskritam. He was even blessed. He stayed in Vaduvur for about 2 months. He was afflicted with some disease and he stayed. Every day he would go to the temple, he would see Rama smile. And he used to relate why Rama smiled to a shloka. So he wrote one Ramayanam called Mandasmita Ramayanam, smiling Ramayanam. Mandasmita Ramayanam. Every verse will describe why Rama smiles in Vaduvur like this. So I can only think of his Ramayanam. I have no ability to construct sentences. Thank you. Do we conclude? We are done? 3 more minutes.
ஒரே question.
நமஸ்கார், கேட்டுருங்க.
அந்த புறநானூறுல பாட்டுன்னு சொன்னீங்க, அதை எழுதினது யாருங்கிறத மென்ஷன் பண்ணலாம்.
வெரி குட். அது ஐ டோன்ட் ரிமெம்பர் இமீடியட்லி. நான் கூகுள் பண்ணி சொல்லிவிடலாம்.
சரி, அது
எனக்கு சட்டு ஞாபகம் இல்லை. 168 237 இந்த 2 பாடல்களுக்குள்ள ஒன்று இருக்கு சார். அது
இன்னொன்று வந்து நீங்க சைவ திருமுறையில 700 ரெஃபரன்சஸ் வருதுன்னு சொன்னீங்க.
ராமாயணம் நிறைய வருது.
அது ஏதாவது லிஸ்ட் பண்ணிருக்கமா? எப்படி
லிஸ்ட் பண்ணல. நான் சும்மா ஒரு ஏதோ ரிசர்ச்காக சும்மா உங்களுக்கு நீங்க பெரியவர் கேட்டிருக்கேள் இருங்கோ. சும்மா ஒரு பாடல் உங்களுக்கு நான் திருமுறையிலேருந்து எடுக்கிறேன் சார். என்ன சொல்றார்? செங்கண்மால் சிலை பிடித்து சேனையோர் சேதுபந்தனம் செய்து சென்று புக்கு பொங்கு போர் பல செய்து புக்கால் வென்ற போர்கள் நெடுமுடிகள் பொடியாய் விழ அங்கொருத்தன் திருவிரலால் இறையை ஊன்றி உடைத்தான் அருள் புரிந்த அடி அளந்தான் வணங்கமலி கடல் புடைசூழ் மாடவீதி வலம்புறமே புங்கே மண்ணினாரே அப்படின்னு. இது வந்து 6ஆம் திருமுறையில் வரக்கூடிய பாட்டு. அதாவது ஞானசம்பந்த திருக்கடைக்காப்புக்கு அப்புறம் அப்பர் பெருமானுடைய பாடல் அப்படின்னு எனக்கு 6ஆம் திருமுறைன்னு வருது. அப்போது கடலோரம், இது முதல்ல வேதாரண்யமாக இதுவாக இருக்கும். அங்கே என்ன சொல்கிறார், ராமர் வந்து அன்றைக்கி சேத்து கட்டினாரே வானர சைன்யர்களோடு, கட்டினத்துக்கு முன்னாடி விபீஷணனுக்கு அடைக்கலம் கொடுத்தாரே, அவரும் இங்கே வந்து கைலாய மலையை தூக்கி பிடிக்க நினைத்த சிவபெருமானை, ராவணனை தன் விரலால் அழுத்திய சிவனும் ஒன்று சேர நான் பார்க்கிறேனே அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி அப்பர் பெருமான் பாடல். Should I leave it here because we have other speakers? Yes, sir. Namaste.
Namaste. Dushyanth, I am Praful Ketkaram, editor of Organiser. It was a real pleasure to listen to you in person. Of course, I keep listening to your discourses online, but Shabda perhaps makes the difference. I have been involved in developing this curriculum and the structures related to, I find it very problematic, the so-called Indian knowledge system. And most of the people who are involved, coming from your kind of background, AICT and some technological institute, and they are more interested in proving that all kinds of science and technology we had in our knowledge system. But as you rightly said, it's the essence of bhakti that actually formed our. If we really have to integrate this tradition of gaining knowledge and rooted in the context of Ramayana, what principles that we should follow while thinking about the so-called Indian knowledge system? If you can throw some light on this.
Sure. Thank you, Prafulji. This is the last question. There will be a next session after this. Even I am disturbed by certain narratives, sir. For example, some people say that we have to give up the current education system entirely, abandon it again. Like how we abandoned our system before and came to this Western. They want to do this and then go back to. That is not correct, is my opinion. You can continue learning the same syllabus what you have of maths, science and everything. Independently, you can also learn what contributions were made to science and maths by our acharyas. I wouldn't say every part of maths that we study today has been explored completely. For example, there is a Madhava series which Ramasubramaniam sir is working on and all of that. But I don't know if every part of integral calculus is brought in our system. So the overall essence is, there are certain places where the current education system, which we have largely bequeathed from the West, Europe and different parts of the US, whatever we have bequeathed, that knowledge system has. There is another knowledge system that we have gathered from our sources of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Aryabhatta and so on and so forth. In many places, there is some intersection. In certain most other places, there is no intersection. They are different. We should not forcefully join them. Stating that this embryology in this particular IVF, IUI technique only that was done. No, not necessary to do that. You can say there was something like this, there is something like this now. It may seem like this, it could have been like this. So my humble submission is, when we integrate the ancient Indian knowledge systems, we should not do that with any preconceived notion that we are the best and everybody else is bad. That, you see, generally people who work in this, I've met a few, Namba kitta illadade, in Tamil they'll say, Namba kitta illadade, we had everything. That's a wrong way of approaching things. We had a lot of things. Whatever we had, we'll bring that to light. That should be the only thing. There are certain things from the Western knowledge systems. See, we may have a problem with the Western mind of overall thinking. But we don't have problems with the scientists and the people from Europe, and if they have found something good, let's take that in. Same is the case when people ask, let's say architecture. I love Dravidian architecture. I love Hoysala architecture. Each has its own style. But I can't stop appreciating the Gothic style just because I like this. So my humble submission is, you will know it better, sir. So whoever is trying to learn the knowledge of the past, don't do it with the notion that we were the only best people. we were very good. And the truth is, all our contributions have not been brought to light for various political reasons. That is agreeable. Let us bring it to light. But let's not rank them that this is number one. What Aryabhatta said is number one. That ranking should not happen, but ultimately the person who's a scientist from Europe and US is also blessed by the same Paramatma. He is not blessed by a different God. He is also blessed by the same Paramatma. The same Jivatma is in him. Karma has put him to that bhumi. Karma has made him being born into a Catholic family or some family. That's okay. But ultimately, that knowledge is what we should see and not go. When we have a slightly open thinking, we'll be so free and we can integrate. The moment we have a preconceived notion, the moment I see Morrison and Boyd of organic chemistry, I feel like killing him. How this Morrison and Boyd can say something what my Bhargava Rishi cannot tell? No. Bhargava said, even Morrison and Boyd said. That's all. Thank you so much.